Good morning, March 4th at 9:30. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Griggs County Commission. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Averill.
Here.
Tranby.
Here.
Zorn.
Here.
Edlin.
Here.
And Wakefield's present. Have a look at the agenda.
The only thing that got fixed was Sheriff Beaver, not Hook. So we have that.
Right.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it. Yep.
Second by Tranby. The original motion was made by Edlin. I'm sorry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda approved. Have a look at the February 26th meeting minutes, if you will. Sam, anything that stands out?
Nope.
I make a motion to approve the minutes and dispense with the reading.
Motion by Edlin to approve the minutes as presented and dispense with the reading. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Second by Averill. Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
No.
Oh, I thought you were reading the minutes.
No.
Barring no further discussion, we'll move on to the vote. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. February 26th, meeting minutes approved. We'll have a look at the bills. Sam, anything on there?
Nope, nothing that I see.
Short list. I make a motion to approve the expenses.
We have a motion to approve the bills as presented by Edlin. Is there a second? A second will just allow us to discuss them.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Second by Tranby. Now, if you have any questions concerning the bills. FICA and retirement and payroll taxes get to be quite large, don't they? $20,000 for is that 2 weeks or is that a month?
That's every 2 weeks, or the 2 times a month, so it
Yep,
gets to
every
be.
2 weeks, yeah. $20,000, $40,000 a month just for the payroll taxes and retirement. Colonial Life Insurance?
That's employer or employee paid benefit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just pretty much, we pay it, but they take all their checks.
Right. Yep.
So the balance in there is never,
No, I don't have a budget and number in there because it's in and out and,
Yeah.
mhm.
yeah.
Any further discussion on the bills? Barring no further discussion, we'll move on to a roll call vote. Aye in the positive, nay in the negative. Avriel,
Aye.
Tranby,
Aye.
Zorn,
Aye.
Edlund.
Aye.
Wakefield votes aye. Bills approved. Let's see. We're a little bit ahead of schedule.
It sounds like he's coming though. Did you talk to him before you left?
Who?
Beaver?
No.
Sheriff Beaver, you're up.
Morning.
Morning.
So, Barnes County Correctional Center sent a new contractor up to look at. I think the only change is it went up from $95 to $100 per day. We just have to renew that contract with them. And then I believe it requires chairperson, Mr. Wakefield's signature on there.
I make a motion to approve the contract for prisoner boarding from Barnes County Correctional Center.
We have a motion from Edlund to approve the contract for prisoner boarding with the Barnes County Correctional Center. I could have worded that better, I think. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Second by Zorn. Any discussion on the contract for prisoner boarding? Barring no discussion, we'll move on to a voice vote. Avriel.
Aye.
Tranby.
Aye.
Zorn.
Aye.
Edlund.
Aye.
Wakefield votes aye. Contract approved.
And, also briefly, I talked with Jamie last week and I updated the police contract for the city of Cooperstown. I provided Sam with copies of that. A copy of
That's what you guys have in front of you as well.
Hmm?
You guys have a copy of that contract
Yeah.
that he's talking about in front of you, yep.
So we'll need to meet with the county commission. What I see is the sticking point with this thing is the fee. So considering that every citizen is entitled to policing services and the budget for the sheriff encompasses all the citizens, and that's 100% of the policing services. Any additional services will have to be paid for at 100%. So, because if we considering that the police, the law enforcement is to take care of all the citizens, if we give them additional work, we either are overstaffed or we're taking away services from the citizens in the county, where there shouldn't be any extra time. So to charge a fee per citizen is then having the rest of the citizens of Griggs County subsidize Cooperstown. That's why I've always never understood these policing contracts. If they want policing services, then they have to pay for 100% of the policing services. Why don't they hire their own? That's the only fair way to the taxpayers. Otherwise, some citizens are getting, in essence, more services than others.
And the question I was reading this, the $3 per person, now is that just within city limits, or how does that, where's the deciding factor on that?
That's why this needs to be done, because this is entered into between Griggs County and the city of Cooperstown. We need to sit down with people that are able to enter into the contract and the people that are able to accept the contract and hash some of this out.
Because I was just kind of, just doing the rough numbers. I mean, is there 900 citizens in town, or 1,000? Are we looking at $3,000, or, and then it comes up to what you just said is where. Is there an extra officer hired just for Cooperstown? Is there an extra? It's pretty hard to have a part-time officer. Maybe that's possible, but we need to make sure that those costs are that of the city and the city alone, that we're not taking away from the citizens of Griggs County in order to do that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, if we could just have Paul, would it be Paul? Who would you have come up here and visit with us?
Well, if you want to do it the quickest way, it would be to have a joint meeting with the city council, because Paul won't have authority to.
Oh, true.
And, we could send you and you could meet with Paul, but then you'd have to come back and it's
Right.
still, so that would be the way I would suggest, that we have a joint meeting. It might not get done in one meeting. We might come to a agreement of what should be in the contract, and then it might take a special meeting to ratify it. But that's what needs to happen.
Would this be something we would join the next city council meeting, be on their agenda, and then we could also post it that we'll be there, and we can visit over there, or which comes first? I don't know.
The city meets tomorrow. I could bring it up and see if they'd be interested in coming to the next commissioner meeting.
I think it'd be better if they're,
Or we can go to
we're the provider, so it would be better, I think. They're looking for services from us. We're
So
not
they
looking
should
for
come here?
services from them, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And they'll have to decide, are they gonna bring enough people to make a decision, a quorum, or are they
I
going
can
to?
bring that up tomorrow at their city meeting and
Yeah.
invite them to the county commissioner meeting,
Yeah.
the next one.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to, from our standpoint, what services do they want? How are we going to address, we already don't have enough staff the way it is. How are we gonna address the officers that are gonna take care of that? That has to be in addition to what we have right now. How do we do that? You see, that's the problem I see with it, is because otherwise we reduce the sheriff services to the rest of the citizens by taking time away from to patrol Cooperstown. And then this is all at the meeting, but what exactly do they want the services for? They're already covered under any county, state, or federal laws. So are they looking for?
My understanding, cities usually contract with the county typically for enforcement of city ordinances. The most common would be like unkept yards or dogs at large, barking dogs. That's pretty simple stuff, so.
Noise ordinances too, probably. Would noise ordinance be on stuff like that too?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys get a lot of those
Yeah,
calls.
for like Jake breaks if the city has it. I'm not familiar with what exactly Cooperstown city ordinances are, so.
Mhm. And then it goes to the point of who's responsible then for enforcing those, but also when it gets to the court level, who's responsible for the costs there? Is our state's attorney then? Does he have to step in and use up more of his time? All this needs to, again, I don't understand why they look to the county for this service when they have the ability to have a police force on their own. And if it's only fair to make them pay all the costs of the police force. Why don't they do it on their own and just negate us? It puts it.
But a lot of times can they never afford it, could they on their own? You follow what I'm saying?
But they can, if they can't afford it, we can't. Griggs County can't subsidize it.
I'm curious as what other small towns do. I think other small towns do the same way, where the county and the city, join together their forces
Just
to.
from my experience, the city of Hesbaden, where I came from in Willis County,
Right.
they had a one-man police department, and I believe their budget for the city was, I want to say like $160,000 a year for that one officer. So that's why a lot of cities do contract, is it's definitely price saving compared to having their own department.
But doesn't the price savings come at the diminished services for the rest of the citizens of Griggs County? If we have a sheriff's department right now, just these are two of you, that is supposed to take care of all of Griggs County, and supposedly all your time is supposed to be devoted there. If part of your time now is devoted to Cooperstown, that has to mean that the citizens of Griggs County have received less of your time, but they're paying for the full time. So that's the way I see it. It is,
I understand.
you at budget time, you could make the argument that we're going to divide this up, and Cooperstown's going to pay this amount of money into the sheriff's department for the services, and you're going to then blend the services throughout. That could be a very effective argument, but to do it midstream when we already have the budget in place is pretty tough.
I think that would be beneficial. So
Yep.
if you're
Yep.
okay with that,
Yeah.
I'll reach out to them.
I'm sorry.
And the same thing would hold true with any policing contract we enter into. It needs to be, the benefit of it is, Jamie would have to weigh in too. I don't know how then we would delineate the enforcement costs. How would we do that, Jamie? Is there an hourly cost? How do we?
So, I think we have the prosecution agreement, and I don't have it in front of me, but I think the county gets like 60% or 40% on what the fees would be. The court fees, and the state gets 60%. The city is completely wiped out of the fees. It would be something that I'd be willing to visit and see what it's going to take for time. The only thing that would be enforced would be any city ordinances, and I'm guessing it would be dog cases that would be the significant part of the city claims, because any other misdemeanor has to be enforced already by law enforcement. So it's going to be the small probably payment of by cases. And I don't know if we charge them. I think our prosecution agreement states that we'll do the prosecution, and it might be something that has to be revisited if it takes a pile of time for the county, because that's not fair for the rest of the taxpayers either.
And then that comes that other questions arise. So if it is animal control, do we have the facilities to be able to do that?
And that's the problem. The vet clinic only takes so many animals.
You're right. So then once we take responsibility for an animal, then we are responsible for the animal, no matter if it was breaking the law or not. Its welfare is still now in the hands of Griggs County. There's all kinds of liabilities associated with this. I don't understand why when the municipality has the ability to have a police force, they don't have a police force. But that's a question we'll ask them.
So like now, any domestic call or something like that would come in?
Any misdemeanor, the law enforcement has a duty to cover any misdemeanor call. So anything that's written in the state law, whether it's in the city of Cooperstown, Biddeford, or Hannaford, or in Sutton, that's the requirement of law enforcement to go to those calls. It's a requirement of me to prosecute a B misdemeanor. Or there are a couple infractions I think that we have to take care of as well, or any speeding citation. Law enforcement can give a speeding citation on Main Street in Cooperstown if that happens. The only thing it's just not specific city ordinances that they don't have the duty to enforce. So yeah, if there's a domestic, law enforcement has to respond. If there's a car accident with a DUI, law enforcement has to respond. It's just the city ordinances that they don't respond to. And like I said, I think for any small town, the biggest thing is the dog cases.
Mhm.
It's, in my estimation, it's more a deal of who's gonna get the phone call. So if the sheriff's department is now, if they've transferred it to the sheriff's department now, instead of the mayor or one of the city council members getting the phone call, it goes to the sheriff's department. If the city council member does get this phone call, they say, well, it's not my problem.
How, does anybody know or remember how it was done back when we used to have Alan Howard?
Yeah.
And then Alan was gone, and then it went to Henry, the sheriff's department at that time.
Yeah.
Well, they had a city police force, and they had a city judge. Dallas Larson was a city judge. They had their own, it was all contained. They covered, just like if our sheriff's department is shorthanded, they'll call Steele County. I mean, they'll cover it on a basis like that.
But when they let Howard go, or when he left,
There was a fee, I think it was $80,000
I think
that
that's
they
right.
paid.
Yeah.
Binford paid 35, 40,
something
something
like
like
that,
that,
yeah.
and Hannaford paid something.
Yeah.
But that was all done at budget time, and that was all part of the sheriff's budget, and then from there, the officers were assigned, or the duties were assigned. So it's not that it can't be done, it just, to do it mid-cycle is the problem. How do you take services from one and give to another and assign a value to them?
and another question I have, and then maybe this nothing really I'm moving up, but is what, is something that's gonna happen for next year at the school? Are they looking to do that, or
The resource officer, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm at that point, are we, as a city, better to get their own officer and have, and take that contract and then do their own patrolling, or?
Well, here's the scenario that could happen. So we enter into a contract, let's just say we use this contract for $3 a citizen. Now Binford comes to us and say, we want that. Hannaford comes and says, we want that. The school comes and says, we want that. All the while, we don't have enough law enforcement to take care of the sheriff's department as it sits. So what's happening then is they're dumping their responsibility. The school's responsible. Each city can be responsible for their local ordinances. They're dumping that all onto the county, and then we don't have the resources or the ability to then absorb that responsibility. That's why I think all these contracts have to charge the full price it costs for the services, and if that's the case, then the entity that wants the services should go out and contract for the services. That just makes it so much cleaner. We're not here to run the city. We're not here to run the school. School, there's taxing entities for both them. They have their own taxing authority, and they have their own governing boards. So, lots of things to talk about.
Because I do see, I see a need, and
Mhm.
do we get the biggest problem is we're shorthanded. There's just two of you. If there was a third one, it might be a little different light on the subject, but, I do know that there is complaints within the city of barking dogs. And it should be handled, but, yeah,
No one doubts the need,
right,
but the responsibility is that of the city.
yeah.
They have their own governing board and their own taxing authority. They have the ability to do it.
It takes a while to work a contract, so I would like to keep
Yep.
moving further on the contract to maybe put it in the budget season for next year, because it's hard to stop, it takes a while to get all the kinks out and everything else of a contract, and
I agree.
Yeah, and
And
I
to-
agree that it can be done, because when we got rid, not we, but when they got rid of Howard, or not rid of Howard, that played out, and then it went to the county at that point,
Okay.
so.
and the school and the city both, I'd like to move on.
And that would make more sense if the school and the city did something where, kind of like one of our last sheriffs, where she had her own office at the school, and it made it a little bit easier for them. I think that sounded like it worked out pretty slick for them, so that'd be something where it'd be best if, I know it's tough, but all three of us could sit down and hash something out for either, like you said, a budget, and for whatever resource officers we need for all that too.
Discuss this for 2 minutes. I just got to answer this text real quick.
That's fine, so.
I like the idea, and I know there's a need,
Well,
Oh, definitely, I agree,
and it's hard to pass
I
a
would actually
contract.
recommend, if the city would pay more, to cover the salary of a deputy, so it could try
Well,
to
that's-
hire
that was
another
my
deputy
question.
to help with it.
Well,
You know, I mean, we're not too far off from that number.
because a good what deputy salary would be what 60,000-70,000 starting out now.
55. sorry.
55.
Yeah.
What would be nice is,
As
If
far as
it-
the school contract goes, not the contract. It's, it's my understanding there's never been a contract drafted, so that's what we're working on right
Correct.
now.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's what I mean about everyone sitting down and figuring out what we could have for a police officer and what's going to cost.
That's the other thing, I think for the school resource, I think that officer should be dedicated to the school and not
Mhm.
shared between anybody. Otherwise, you're just taking away from the kids and the school system. But that's, once we get, you know, at least a rough draft.
and even if you have a contract in place and don't have an employee yet, you at least have something established, so then when you start looking and can find somebody, there's already something established for it. Yep, it's already there, done. Yep, great job.
Sorry about that. Firefighting airplanes running in Minnesota over here. I have to take care of there. Okay. We'll move forward with that. The request that was a tie vote last time, are we gonna revisit that?
Yep.
Okay,
I would like you to.
okay.
Be appropriate.
Who is your representative from Axon? He's on, if you have some questions.
I know there was a little issue with the time change last meeting, so that's why they showed up. I think it was 9:30 or 10:30 when they came up, so
Mm-hmm.
he should be present.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, but this is Nathan Williams from Axon, and I'm here if you guys need me.
Thank you.
I know, Rob, I think you had a question about like the life expectancy and warranty.
Yeah, that was my question of what was the life expectancy of one of these? We put it in the patrol car and the, well, actually both of the cameras, the patrol car and the body cam. What is the life expectancy of these cameras?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we start with the body worn cameras with the program that we are discussing, there will be brand new cameras sent to
Can I
replenish,
stop you for a minute here, Nathan?
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to enter into discussion about the budget amendment first before we do this.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Averill to enter into discussion to amend the sheriff's budget for the new equipment. I think we had a dollar fee of $56,403.70. That might change as we move forward. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Second by Tranby. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move into the discussion phase of this. Then at the point that we get to the position where we know of a dollar fee, we'll need another motion to amend the budget for that. Okay, Nathan, sorry about that. Go ahead. It's basically, we need to tell the people what we're talking about here.
Gotcha. Sorry about that. I heard the question, kind of just jumped in there. But so for the body worn cameras, every 2.5, and then at the 5-year mark, we will send brand new equipment out to you guys. And that will be fully under warranty over that 5 years. And that is the slightly different for the in-car system. So the in-car system, you will get brand new hardware at year 5, as well as the warranty will cover it for that full 5 years. So with the contract that is presented, you have warranty past 5 years on all of the cameras.
So the cameras in the cars are a 5-year camera then? There's no replacement at 2.5 years on that?
Correct, and the reason why is just from working with permits, we see that they're not getting as beat up as the body worn cameras are. So at that 5-year mark is typically when we see that, hey, it makes sense to upgrade that camera for technology reasons and as well as storage and things like that. So that's where we see it to be the most effective. Whereas with the body worn cameras, they're getting beat up and they start to see the lithium ion battery does start to slowly degrade around that mark, just like your cell phone. So to ensure that everything is up to date and working and is going to serve the county to its full ability, that's why we offer them in those increments.
So the vehicle cameras, do they continue to record even when the vehicles are off duty? Like if somebody comes over, hits the vehicle or slams in the vehicle or hits it with a hammer or vandalizes something, will it continue to record all that? Or does that not catch that either?
Yeah, so if the camera is on, right, so the car is going to need to be on, and then it is going to record, it's going to have a 24-hour backlog, right? So you can go back and pull that footage, but you are going to need power to that camera, i.e. that vehicle is turned on. So if it's just parked at the station, it's not going to be recording, but anytime that vehicle is on, even if it's not specifically recording, you will be able to go back and get all of that footage.
So if it's off and something happens, you can still go back or no?
No.
No. Yeah, so the vehicle needs to be on.
Okay.
Running, needs to be running.
And that's why I always see that all the patrol vehicles are always running all the time, correct, because of that?
That's part of it. So we have a lot of electronics in our vehicle.
Yeah.
So for us to be able to respond, I mean, if we get a call running for a car, it takes time to get everything turned on, get the computer turned on, printer turned on, get our internet connection established, the secure connection. It's just time consuming, so leaving our vehicle on just saves a lot of time in that response. So.
Is this a forward facing camera and a rear facing camera in the car, or is it just one?
It's a forward facing camera, and then there's a camera that faces the back seat of the vehicle.
Okay.
So between all three, you have two cameras in the car and then one on the officer. So you pretty much have it covered, correct? Or pretty much?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions of Nathan?
What's the life expectancy on the tasers too?
So the life expectancy on the Taser 10 is going to be 5 years. So the same as like a ballistic vest or anything like that. That is, after those 5 years, we do see failure rates go up. So at that 5-year mark, we do recommend replacing the Taser.
Yeah.
So we'll get a new one with the contract, and then right before the contract's up, will we get another new one, or would we have to buy that again?
Yeah, so there is no refresh of the Taser. So at that 5-year mark, you would be looking at purchasing new Tasers. But with the way that the contract is set up here, you wouldn't need to purchase new cameras. So that would simply just be lengthening the software in order to manage all of the digital evidence management system to be able to use that the videos.
So if there's no further discussion on the discussion portion of this, then we need to move on to the amending of the budget. So that will take another motion to amend the budget for the amount involved, the purchase of these cameras.
So move.
Do we have a dollar figure?
Last meeting, it was 56,403.70.
Is that still the figure?
That's still
we have a motion by Edlin to amend the sheriff's budget, removing $56,403.70 from the chief deputy line item and allocating it to safety equipment from Axon. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Second by Avriel. Discussion. I'll voice the same concerns I had last time, is that by now we have basically negated our ability to hire a chief deputy if one comes available. As long as everybody understands that, and it's out in the open, then that's fine. But that was the one thing that was of concern to me. Any other discussion?
Are we,
Oops. Go ahead, Rod.
that was actually for Beaver, I was just, are we currently still looking for a deputy?
I can say that it is an option, but Mike's back, he can talk more about it. Like, I just went to training at the Devils Lake Region Police Academy here in January, and the whole state academy has 3 students in it right now. And 2 are already hired as game wardens in the reservation, and 1 didn't even know the police academy was a part of his criminal justice degree. So if you look at those numbers, last year there was 4 students, and then just counties around us, they've had open applications as well, and law enforcement isn't something people are jumping to get into nowadays.
You know, when Mike and I spoke a little bit last meeting, and, you know, I'm kind of torn on this. I do believe that safety is, and for you guys and the citizens, and is important. I'm torn between would a 3rd deputy be better or more official, what's the right word I'm looking for, but beneficial than cameras and a taser. I'm just torn, to be honest with you. But my question was, Mike, when you stepped out, was, are we currently looking for a deputy? But it's just kind of a, like everybody else right now, there's just
hasn't been a lot of interest.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think we've received one application.
Okay.
We've had an opening out there. And for example, when we hired Tyler in December, to get him into the academy to get his reciprocity and get fully licensed, it isn't gonna happen until April. So I mean, if we did hire somebody now, I don't even know when the next lead of class would be, but that'd probably be this fall sometime, I would assume. So
And-
we're already pushing it out months if we did find somebody today.
Okay, one last question then, if we do get the cameras and the stun gun or taser or whatever, something that you guys, if we do end up hiring next year, per se, we get a 3rd deputy, is that something that can be transferred from deputy to deputy? You know, that we don't have to go and buy the 3rd set up right away, that we can,
It's just all online. You just assign it to a new deputy. You could reallocate that, and then at that point, in the budget season this year, I figured we could look at it for adding the third taser, 3rd body camera moving forward, just planning for 2025.
because I just, you know, if we weren't to buy the camera, you know, why buy a 3rd camera if we haven't got the body to wear it? But, you know, so if we were to get the 3rd body first, can we just, is it something you guys can share until we do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we can make it work. I just, you know, obviously there's an officer safety side, but there's just a huge liability side to it too.
Right.
Like I explained before, today's world, we're scrutinized for everything we do, so just having that proof with us just reassures everyone that, yeah, we're doing what we're supposed to, or maybe that officer didn't do something, you know, that he should have been doing, so.
Is there any way, I know it's like the last sheriff did always wear them and stuff like that. Is there any way you guys could have it in your policy to enforce that it must be worn at all times, so that not only that it protects you and the citizens, but it's also a policy where if that person doesn't do it, they can be held liable for it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also too, that way we make use of this equipment that we're buying.
Yep, absolutely. That's something I plan to do throughout the year as well, is update the sheriff's office policy. Not even sure if all the time is at the current stage, but I don't know, it's a double change quite often, happen with those things.
So to add to answering Rod's question, it appears we are currently looking for a chief deputy. If this amendment passes, we can't be, because we can't allocate funds we don't have, and we cannot force a future commission or a future budget at this point. So once we advertise for this, once we switch the budget, we're no longer advertising. We don't have the ability to do that, because we don't have the ability to hire. And we don't have the ability to put money out into next year because we haven't had the budget process.
But next budget, we could budget money again to find a
Right.
sheriff.
You could.
Start advertising for start date of January or whatever. Yep. Yep.
That's how the system works. So that's,
Yep.
and that goes to my concern that we just finished talking about providing services for the city. We just finished talking about providing services for the school. All that requires extra personnel. We are effectively putting that off now until the next budget cycle by doing this.
Yeah.
You understand that? Okay. Any further discussion? Barring no further discussion, we'll move on to a vote. I think we'll do a roll call vote on this. This will be a vote to amend the budget to deplete the chief deputy line item and allocate that money to safety equipment for Axion. Aye to the affirmative, nay to the negative. Averill.
Aye.
Tranby.
Aye.
Zorn. Edlund.
Aye.
Wakefield votes nay. Motion passed. With that, we will amend, the budget is amended, and Sheriff Beaver has the authority to go ahead with the equipment. It's put forward, yep.
We take a quick recess.
I'll make a motion of 5-minute recess.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Motion by Tranby, second by Averill for a 5-minute recess. All right, back in session. Tax director position. I suppose we have to continue advertising for that.
Yep, we are. Just not in the paper or anything like that. It's just on the websites.
Okay, can we advertise on the state? Is there a state site for that?
I think we.
The North Dakota Association of Counties?
Yeah, before Stan.
Yep. I'll check on that to make sure it's still there.
Sales ratio study. We have a contract here, unsolicited contract for $30,000 to perform the sales ratio duties. Certainly we need to see whether or not there's a cheaper price out there. So Century Code allows for assessors, level 1 assessors, to do that. I think we should put out an ad to all, or send a notice to all the level 1 assessors in the state offering a fee, $5,000, $10,000, $7,500, whatever it might be, to perform the duties of the sales ratio study. The state maintains a list of qualified level 1 assessors, and certainly that needs to be explored. We're here for the benefit of the citizens, and if there's a cheaper price, we certainly need to know what that is. A little concerned with this sales ratio agreement that came unsolicited in the date of it. It's dated the 23rd day of February 2024. That was before we rejected the contract provided by the same person for the tax director position. So that means that this was formulated at the same time or before the contract that he sent us for the tax director position. The only logical conclusion you can come to is it just was a backup plan.
I asked him to do both because during the meeting when it was discussing of the contract, we mentioned having to have somebody do the sales ratio. Can we have somebody just do the sales ratio? So I asked him to give us a pricing quote like he did last year to do just the sales ratio study, because it's due by the end of March. So we need to get that done. So this is what he presented, was 2 options for us. I personally still support the whole needed a tax director position filled. But with no support of that, we at least need to get the sales ratio study done.
Well, that's possibly correct, but we need to explore the price of that, of course. So if you believe that the tax director position was a full-time position at $60,000, which I don't believe, I think that's overinflated, then you would further have to believe that the sales ratio at $30,000 would occupy 6 months in order to complete. Half of 60,000 is 30,000. That's not conceivable. I've been involved 3 times in doing a sales ratio study that the state accepted, by the way, and it took Ron and I all of 10 hours once we had the information to input that into the. Now maybe things have changed since then, but that was 3 different times. But again, we owe it to the citizens to determine what is the cheapest price this can be done for. I think the problem is when we put out for bids, people are shy in order to ask what they say, well, $10,000, is that too much, or $5,000, is that too much? I think we should put a price on it and see what happens. Whatever price that might be, if it's 5 or 10 or 7,500 or 2,500, I think we should, and then send it out to all the qualified assessors.
What was it last year?
25,000.
25.
Yeah, but again, we were into a position where we didn't have a choice. We had a conflicting sales ratio studies, and something had to be done.
Yeah, but didn't Alan, wasn't his agreed price $5,000 a month?
Yeah.
You know, you'd think that even 2 months, 10,000 would get you guys, So, but anyway, if we do put it out there, timeline, how long are we gonna advertise for? Do you think we'll get something back within the month?
Well, they gotta know it's due by March 31st.
Where did you find that deadline?
They need to have that deadline by March 31st.
Where did you find that?
It's on here. It is due.
You're looking at the stuff Alan sent us. There's no
I
corroboration.
am not looking at stuff Alan
Well,
sent
then
us.
show me the century code where that says that.
I am pulling it up right now.
What is the total deadline that you're thinking of compared to what she's thinking of?
I don't know. I haven't found the deadline other than the June 1st deadline.
When we start our budget type of deal, or
Right,
what?
yeah. For
Okay.
it says that it can be used. It's not, let me read you something here. We're under the assumption that this sales ratio study is something in concrete and something that is the only thing we're supposed to follow. And I'll read you from the Century Code, 5701. 06.1, statement of the legislative intent concerning the use of sales, market, and productivity studies. It is the intent of the Legislative Assembly that local assessors, county directors of tax equalization, and city, township, county, and state boards of equalization use the results of the sales, market, and productivity study as a guide in making assessments and in equalizing assessments of property in this state. The Legislative Assembly recognizes that the sale of property alone provide insufficient information to make accurate judgments concerning the market value of property within the various counties of the state, particularly in view of the limited number of sales which occur within a given period of time in many counties, and that in order to get an accurate picture of market value, considerations must be given to such factors as property appraisal, productivity, and current usage of the property. It goes on to say that the state has the authority, but not the ultimate responsibility to conduct a sales ratio study. It's their choice. And we have to provide them with, let me read this here.
So what have we done in the past when we had a tax director?
What's that?
What have we done in the past when we had a tax director? Did he just fill it out and then turn it in, or what did he do? Yeah, but I mean, was there a deadline that he turned it in?
March 31st, it's.
Okay.
So here's further on in the Century Code, this is in, it's 570105, paragraph 4. The state supervisor of assessments may make sales, market, and productivity studies and other studies of property assessments in the counties and cities of this state to provide and advise the assessors and directors of tax equalization in the state to recommend to the tax commissioner changes made to those values. So there is no hard, fast rule that says that we have to totally rely on the sales ratio study. What have we done in the past? I, as a county commissioner, in the length of time I've been here, have never used the sales ratio study, nor as a county commission, for the equalization process. You were here last year, we didn't use it. You've been here for 4 years, we've never used it. We've always relied on the state to then tell us what the valuations were. That's the way it's set up. And so where we stand on this, we also have the ability to protest the valuations, not only as a commission, but as individual commissioners. After the state comes out with their valuations, we could protest it as a individual or as the commission.
There's a timeline stated on the tax.nd.gov that states March 31st is the last day to accept the 2023 real estate sales for the 2024 sales ratio study. It says it right on the state timeline.
Where's the Century Code that says that? I've scoured the Century Code when it comes to the sales ratio study, and it's very vague on what takes place, even that it has to take place. But nevertheless,
Would the state assessment change if we had a sales ratio come in and they reassessed everything and sent to the state? Would the states then change their number? I mean, 'cause what are they going off of now? What numbers are they using to come with their?
Or are they gonna copy paste off of what's last year? That's the thing.
Our sales ratio is going to look terrible again this year because it was a seller's market last year, and nobody had anything reassessed.
yeah.
So it's going to be terrible because their assessment's going to be low and the sales been high. So we're going to be below the 90 percentile another year.
So we don't know any of that, of course. What we're talking about now is getting somebody to do the sales ratio study at a competitive price. That's what the discussion is about. And until we know what the competitive price is, or we determine what we think competitive price should be, and put that forward, all the rest of these discussions don't mean much, because of course we owe the citizens the right to make sure that we're spending their money
But our next
correctly.
meeting isn't until the 18th. Then if you put it out there by the 18th, that's going to give somebody 2 weeks to complete it to be done by the 31st.
As you are aware, it's not due the 31st, it's due before the equalization meeting. And we've never had it by the 31st, and if we have, it was incorrect, of course. If you think we should spend $30,000, then you have to assume that this is going to take 6 months, because the same person that's wanting $30,000 through the sales ratio study was willing to do the whole tax director's job, less most of the duties, for $60,000. Pretty easy to figure out that he thinks then that the sales ratio study will take half his time, 6 months, which will take us way past the deadline. So if he's willing to do it by the 31st, and he put this out here on the 23rd, and he knows it can't be accepted until today, he's saying that he can have it done by the 31st. It should take him 3 weeks with his own timeline.
I think we're paying for the task, not the time.
But if it takes him a month to do the task, that's $5,000 according to his contract, and now he wants $30,000, so.
Wouldn't it have been handy to gone for the tax director contract and gone that route? I agree, we should have went that route.
Stephanie,
That's
he
not what
wasn't
I'm saying.
performing it, it wasn't the tax director contract, he didn't perform any of the duties of the tax director. He crossed out every duty that was specified in the century code, he crossed it out.
So, like I said last time, we would have been in the same position, so we hired him to do the sales ratio study for $60,000 at that point. And then we have to find someone to do the assessor's duties. We're in the same position that we were when we started, before we started negotiating his contract with Alan.
Well, I mean, according to his own contract, we can hire him for $5,000. We can accept the tax director's position, we can cancel it within 30 days, we can have him do the sales ratio study and fire him. And it'll cost us $5,000. I mean, this is ludicrous. This is profiteering, unsolicited profiteering. I still don't understand how these contracts come to us. I understand why he's charging so much. He wants to make a profit, but in what interest is it of the citizens of Griggs County to even entertain these offers? It isn't. Again, his own price schedule shows that he would do it for $5,000.
On the TAP website, it's the assessment sales ratio schedule BX is due the 31st of March, and then the sales ratio assessment abstract and the supplementary abstract are due June 30th.
Yep, and of course, the BX study is supposed to be produced on a monthly basis by the recorder. Uh-huh. But, and again, we're talking about right now the sales ratio study and what we should do to try to find someone to do it. Again, we've got the option of $5,000 according to his own contract. Now, he probably won't accept the contract now if that's what we were gonna do, but that's what the arrangement he gave us. Hire him, have him do the sales ratio study and let him go. 30 days notice on the contract, so.
That cost you 10 then, wouldn't it? If you were hired him for a month and then 30 days, we charge you for the second month.
I'm sure it would. So
But
it'd be like
anyway,
a
but still, that's
2 month,
still
2 month
$20
process type of deal.
I don't know. I think we should put it out there at some figure and have it sent to all the level 1 assessors in the state and see what happens.
What would be the amount?
I'd say 10. I don't know if you guys are okay with that, but I say 10 because it's like, he said, kind of 2 months worth, but yet we're not spending 30.
It's not 2 months worth of work. I've done.
I know, but I mean, I'm just saying like kind of what he was getting at where he wants 1 month, fire him, well, it would probably be with the process of firing or whatever else, it'd be another month's fee, so I'd say that's where I get 10. I mean, maybe I'm looking at it wrong or thinking it wrong, but I think 10's a fair number, and then it'll get more attraction in to get it taken care of.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm not in agreement with 10, but that's a number.
What do you think, Jamie?
I don't know, I know 30 is, in my opinion, 30 is too much. If I was just looking at it from being a taxpayer point of view, I'd be pretty upset. I know if I were to go home and say, Dad, the commission just hired someone for $30,000 to do the tax ratio study, I don't think I'd stick around in their place very long. So, I don't know if, I mean, I think a 5 to 10,000, I still think it's too much, but in order to get it done, it's a lot better than 30. I mean, it'd probably be a super easy way for a tax director from another county to make $10,000 in a weekend.
Are we better to ask for a bid?
I don't think so. I think my own opinion, I think that the people that were gonna do this would shy away from asking $10,000 because they think that's ridiculous themselves. Is what is my expectation of that, but I can't say that for sure.
No, Sam, what do you think?
I just fear that I sent it out to all the tax directors because I have an email chain for them last year, and got Alan to come back and
But nobody else did they?
But that was in
No.
what, May that got sent out?
excuse
Yeah.
me. Yeah, I think so. And
The tax directors are busy right now. This is their busy time of the year, but it's in May instead of after it was already supposed to be due.
But the state maintains a list of all the level 1 assessors.
so as long as they all have email addresses, because I'm not going to go and start sending the ad to all them that they don't have an email address, and I don't want you guys to make a motion that says to all level 1 assessors, because now I'm having to go and make sure I'm sending it to all level 1 assessors.
Well, to all state level 1 assessors, yeah.
Whoever that
there's
the
a list
sta-
for that because the state maintains that list.
Right.
Right.
If they have the I just don't want to go against your guys' motion if they don't have the email addresses and make more work for myself if it's not.
But Sam, you are the secretary for the county commission.
No,
If
I
the county
understand
commission
that.
wants those sent out, that is your duty to do that.
Yep.
And it's not asking something that is out of bounds. The state qualifies these people, so the state has to have a contact for them.
I would guess that there's an email address for everybody because they're probably doing continuing hours
Mhm.
online. And I wouldn't be really too concerned with that. I would bet that they've all got email addresses.
Yeah. The other thing to keep in mind is the state continually refers to the tax director or the city assessor. They could do the sales ratio study. Keep in mind that Griggs County has no county assessed properties. All the properties within Griggs County are assessed by the townships or the cities. So we don't have the assessment, duties the cities or the townships do. And also, almost all the properties, the sales take place within the city of Cooperstown. The city of Cooperstown also maintains the program, the tax program, that's called out in the second requirement of the sales ratio study. That's a download from that program. But we don't have it any taxable assessed property in Griggs County. There's nothing that we assess. We equalize, we don't assess. So what do you want to do? We have to have, if we're going to do this, we have to have Jamie draw up a real quick ad, and then it needs to get advertised and sent to whoever we think it's going to be sent to, and then we have to act on it come next meeting, or determine which direction we're going to go with this. I still think we should reach out to the state and see if they would help us. We don't have a tax director. We've advertised for a tax director. We've given a competitive salary. We don't have a tax director because the state made the qualification so high no one wants to do it. Plain and simple. We used to have assessors all over, and the state made the rules, the schooling so high that everybody said, no, I'm not going to do it. That and the fact that a tax director in a small community like this, the nature of the job is adversarial to the citizens. Who wants to do that? Big city is different. Small city is tough.
So if we have Jamie write up a contract, we meet on the 18th. At that point, then
We could vote to approve it and then advertise it.
I can get that done. How long are you guys gonna be meeting it? I can get it done in 10 minutes.
So our goal isn't to have it done by the 31st, or you think that that's enough time to do it, get that completed by? For somebody to read the contract, vote on, or put in a bid and complete it?
Or we can put a dollar value on it. that we wanna do? Is that what I
This
hear?
this is all what we're discussing.
Yeah,
Just put like $10,000, let's say, for a dollar figure, and can you do it for that? Correct?
Yeah.
right, yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Well, I think then it should be $10,000 our lowest offer. I mean, if it's gonna be competitive, you have to make it competitive.
Are we gonna, okay, that one part that supposedly is supposed to be in by the 31st, okay, I kinda get that, but will we face any repercussions if it's late, or don't you guys think so?
First of all, I don't agree with the 31st.
No,
don't-
I know, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, if we're supposed to have something in by then, I don't know, you know, one of you guys says we are, one says we're not, but my question is anything that we turn late on that, will they just say, okay, it's late, or will they say, well, what the hell are you guys late for, you know what I mean? If
What-
we turn it in a little late, or, you know, that's, if it's required to be due by the 31st, let's say, okay, let's just say it's required by the 31st. I'm not saying it is, but let's say it's required. But if we turn it in a little late, are we gonna catch hell from the state, or is they pretty relaxed about that kind of stuff if we turn it in a little late?
It's the state's responsibility to do their sales ratio study, not ours. We have to provide them with the information, so we can send them the sales information.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, like, if we send it in a little late, let's say it technically was due by the 31st, again, I'm not saying that's what it is, but let's say we turn it in afterwards, all those numbers that we're supposed to turn in, are we gonna catch repercussion over that, or do they just, have we turned it in past that in the past, and it was never a big deal?
We've went 2-3 years without turning into one at all.
Okay.
We can't do something that we can't do. And the state doesn't have the ability to levy tax against the citizens of Griggs County. They don't have the ability to tell us, well, you gotta pay $100,000 for a sales ratio study. If they need a sales ratio study, which they do, which the Century Code requires them to have, it requires us to make the information available. They're the ones that use the information and then come back to us with the percentage that we're supposed to take into advisement. Again, it's Jamie can answer it better than I can possibly, but we have the ability to protest it right up until the time that they have their state equalization meeting.
Yeah, that's the 1st of June, you said, or what?
No, that's way,
August.
into
I
August.
think John's right. I haven't done a pile of research on it, but I think he's right.
Yeah, I mean, that's, this artificial time limit that we're putting in this is a disservice to the citizens.
I'm guessing the purpose of it is so they don't have 53 counties rolling in a week before the
August.
equalization meeting saying, here's our stuff, so they've got some time to put things together.
But it's technically not due by then, so it's not a big deal, since we haven't done it that way since we haven't turned it in over the years and never faced repercussions, and we got a little grace time, it sounds like. That's what I'm just worried about, you know. I mean, maybe I'm overreacting, but at the same time worried about what's this stake gonna freak out, be like, hey, you gotta turn this in, but if we've never turned it in the past where it's never an issue, then I'm not too worried about it.
When did we turn this off? Last one, when Ella did it, when was the date we turned it back in?
I think it was in May or June or something,
Was
wasn't
it?
it?
I think it was June.
I don't know, cause he,
It was late.
It was late. It was June.
It was after the state equalization meeting. We turned it in. So of course you look like fools at the state equalization meeting saying that this county has failed to hand their stuff in on time.
Well, I think we want to get it done before then, and I think we
Yeah.
want to get it in as soon as possible.
But I mean,
So
it
that-
sounds like we have a little bit of grace period to, like you said, turn in a contract, put a dollar amount in, or like John said, lowest bidder, to save our citizens some money and get this done.
I mean, it's not even a hard rule that the state do the sales ratio study. The state supervisor of assessments, who is appointed by the state office of the tax commissioner, and he's in charge of all the assessments and the sales ratio studies. And it says the state supervisor of assessments may make sales, market, and productivity studies and other studies to properly assess of property assessments in the county and cities of his state, to assist and advise the assessors and directors of tax equalization in the state to recommend to the tax commissioner. So it isn't even a hard rule that the state has to do a sales ratio study. No, they do, but they further than they coordinate with us to do that. They're supposed to. They haven't been. They've been relying on us to send it in, but they're supposed to coordinate with us. But right now, we're talking about what to do for advertising this.
I got an ad this quick ad I got there. Emails now. Okay, it's sent, Sam.
And here's a part of it that has been neglected before. No sale may be used in any sales, market, or productivity study until it has been verified by the state tax commissioner, the county supervisor of assessments, township supervisors, or the board of county commissioners, or as agents, that none of the exclusions set forth in section 570106 have been used in this study. That's the 23 exclusions. We're supposed to go through and look at each sale and make sure that none of those exclusions apply. And the only way to do that is make sure that the form was filled out prior when they registered the properties, the deed, or there's 4 different methods of contacting the owner in order to verify
So
that.
it's basically, it's supposed to be filled out, brought to us, go through it, prove it, send it in.
Correct. Yep. The problem is we don't have that form filled out when the properties are, the deed is issued. So we don't know the answer to those 23 questions. And we can't compel the answer to those 23 questions because the deed has already been registered. So given that, none of the sales can be verified, so none of the sales are usable according to their own criteria. And that all starts at the recorder's office when they register the deed. It's supposed to, that questionnaire is supposed to be filled out. And by leaving it blank doesn't mean that it doesn't apply. By leaving it blank means it has to be, the question has to be answered.
We discussed that last year. That's not a requirement for Maddie, or for Kelly to fill out that form.
I'll read it to you again. 570107. No sale may be used in any sales, market, or productivity study until it has been verified by the state tax commissioner, the county supervisor of assessments, township supervisors, or Board of County Commissioners or its agents that none of the exclusions set forth in section 570106 have been used in this study. 570106 is a sales, market, and productivity study. Contents not to be included. At the time they printed this, there's 10 of them, there's 23 of them now. You have to verify that none of those exclusions have been used. So yes, it does say that, it has always said that. Just because you refuse to acknowledge that doesn't mean it's a fact. The century code is a century code. So you've got the letter in front of you. Is there a motion to the effect that we have this sent to all the level 1 assessors registered with the state?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Zorn to approve the ad for the sales ratio study. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Second by Avriel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Can Samantha add that to the letterhead and then make it as an attachment and probably just give a quick opening statement that the Griggs County Commission
Yep.
is seeking help with their sales ratio study. And then put that in there.
Sam? Okay. All right, let's see what happens there.
Did you do roll call vote or all aye?
Hmm?
He just, no.
I think they only,
Yep. Senior citizens budget. So we talked about this last time, the senior citizens have been,
I wasn't here last.
yep, that's what I'm explaining to you. Senior citizens have been put, as you're aware, have been pushed up against because of, yeah. So we started looking into how can we increase their budget.
What do they get, how much meals now?
2 meals.
2 meals, okay.
So as we looked into it, originally the senior citizens are budgeted through the general fund. And there is no budget limit specifically for the senior citizens. It's governed by the budget limit for the general fund. Just like there's no budget limit for the auditor's office or the treasurer's office, it takes into account the whole general fund.
So can we go higher than 2 meals or not?
Well, so here's the second part of it. Then 57, anyway, in 57, it allows for an additional 2 meals to be voted on by the public to go to the senior citizens. So right now we have, I believe because of at one time the county was up against the general meal limit, and they kind of pushed things off to the side into the special funds without actually being a vote for the special funds. So what we're levying now for the senior citizens, the fair, all those different entities are supposed to be out of the general fund. They show them in a special fund. They're not. So I think the fix for this would be to put forward on the ballot a resolution asking the citizens if we can levy an additional 2 meals for the senior citizens.
What's the deadline on that for us to do that?
It'll have to be in the ballot.
For the ballot.
For the ballot language, I think it's sometime in April.
Yeah.
So April was, okay, so then it'd be on the June primary then?
Yeah,
This would be on.
I think so. So that was just for discussion. So if we want to do that, we'll move forward with that. We don't have to vote on it, but that's just some keeping you abreast of what took place. We went back to 2000. There hasn't been a vote, so I assume there is no vote. If there had been a vote, it would have had to have been amended by now anyway.
How much are they short, John? What's the latest
Well,
figure?
we've given them, that figure just keeps going up. So it looks like this year.
This is for the whole county, right? Everybody, the whole.
Well, yeah, they're only, the actual money for the Senior Citizen Center is just a fraction of that 2 meals. I mean, they get 3,000 per, it isn't much. will the 4 mills cover it with the increased costs and the increased usage of the ride share and the Meals on Wheels? I don't know if it will or not. They're gonna run, they had a surplus at the end of the year, but with the spending at 250, 300% of normal, they're gonna run short by the end of this year. We're gonna have to, if we choose, supplement them via the COVID funds in order to get through this year. So, that was just for discussion. We'll put it on the budget for put it on agenda for next
Next time.
and then we'll probably have to act on
You have to
that.
have it figured out the next time,
Yeah, I think so.
so that you can give the April deadline.
Because we'll have to have the language drawn up for the budget, for the ballot this year.
Okay.
Old courthouse, new courthouse. Future business, the senior citizens is all we have on there.
You will have the fair board attending your meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, no, that's April 8th, never mind, sorry.
Yeah.
So, never mind.
Yeah, that'll be for next. Nothing, just some property issues there as far as ownership the fair board wants to discuss, yeah. And so,
This contract that we're gonna send out asking for a director, will that be done by,
Sales
Right.
ratio study,
when will that be emailed, do you think?
today.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
As long, whenever I get the list, I've already
Yeah.
asked the state for the list, so whenever I get that list, I'll get them sent to them.
Just, if there's anything, then you will bring it,
yep, and we'll put it on the budget, on the agenda
Agenda,
as soon as we
okay.
get it, yeah.
okay.
I'll make motion to adjourn.
Motion by our adjourner to adjourn. Is there a second to that?
I second that.
Second by Zorn, motion by Canby, original motion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. 10:58. Next meeting in this room, Monday, March 18th at 9:30. Thank you all.